Speaker. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa
Waalaikumsalam.
barakatuh. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sponsor, and to the DFA family, magandang gabi po. First, I have a question regarding the situation of our kababayans who, out of desperation and lack of opportunities in our country, are forced to leave to find livelihood in Sabah, but are eventually apprehended and detained by the Malaysian government for having no documents. We have received reports that a number of Filipinos in Sabah have been recently detained in Johor Bahru, while an estimated 500,000 are at risk of detention and or deportation. Given the ongoing concerns about the welfare and legal situation of Filipinos imprisoned and mistreated in Sabah, what specific actions are the DFA undertaking to protect their rights and provide assistance?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have here the data of the assistance we have extended to the Filipino citizens living in Sabah, particularly those who have already been detained, Mr. Speaker. The number of Filipinos that were assessed and were assisted by DFA, including sending them back home, Mr. Speaker, is already reached the number as of 2025, this August, 5,330, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. This is a transfer from North Borneo, Sabah to Zamboanga, in Sandakan, and in Bungaw, Tawi-Tawi, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat po. Can I just ask, can the DFA commit to a strategic and humanitarian approach in addressing the pressing concern of Filipinos detained and deported from Sabah?
Mr. Speaker, the DFA does not only limit its assistance to those who have been detained and North Borneo, but in fact assisted and keep on assisting Filipinos in Sabah. If I can enumerate, Mr. Speaker, but it will take more time for me to enumerate some of the services that have already been delivered and extended by DFA to our Filipino kababayans in Sabah. Just to give you some, Mr. Speaker, there were provisions in welfare coordination for welfare and medical assistance. There's also a regular conduct of hospital and prison visits. There's also a facilitation of shipment of Bureau of Human Remains, a shipment of personal belongings of deceased Filipinos in this area. And there's also an assistance for legal facilitation of legal assistance for cases that are pending in Sabah. There are also financial assistance for 6 alternative learning centers for 662 Filipino children who have no documents or Filipino children considered illegal immigrants by the occupation authorities, Mr. Speaker. We're using the term occupation because we still have a standing claim over North Borneo and Sabah, Mr. Speaker. So there's also a consular services that been extended to these Filipinos, not only again to the detained individuals in Sabah, but we also do consular services by means of civil registry services, notarial services, passport application and renewal services, issuance of travel documents, medical and welfare checks, and again, as I mentioned earlier, prison and hospital visits, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Thank you for that information, and I'm glad to hear that. However, I just wanted to raise a concern regarding several Filipinos that were detained last December, but up until now, they weren't still given the opportunity to return back to the Philippines. Instead, they were imprisoned, and the last information that the DFA has provided is that they will be for hearing this coming November or December. And then afterwards, we heard just this Friday that one of the Filipino was already died in the imprisonment. So can the DFA actually commit on what action can be taken on this matter?
Speaker, yes. The Filipinos mentioned by the good lady were detained on October 19, 2024 following an enforcement operation or raid conducted by the Immigration Department on a company named GWI Manufacturing in Sanay, Johor. And then on February 12, 2025, the DFA, together with the Migrant Workers Office in Kuala Lumpur, visited the Filipinos detained in Johor, and the immigration officials, Mr. Speaker, and we were able to provide them assistance, no, in the said area, Mr. Speaker, and to this particular individuals mentioned, Mr. Speaker. There are several steps and assistance that were made by the DFA. But if the good lady from Akbayan party list would be willing that we provide her this data, because again, somewhat this is somewhat a sensitive matter, and perhaps it's considered to be a classified information.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding the fact that we still continue on with our claim over North Borneo or Sabah.
Of course.
We would be more willing to provide her this information, Mr. Speaker, perhaps after her interpellation, Mr. Speaker. But yes, to give you a straight answer, because the DFA will continue on assisting these individuals and will continue on checking the status and the condition of the individuals that were mentioned by the good lady from Akbayan, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Sponsor. We will take note and closely monitor on this matter, and I hope that the agency's effort will effectively safeguard the rights and welfare of the Filipinos imprisoned in Sabah.
I can give you my word. I will personally lobby, and perhaps makakulitan sa akin si Secretary to check on the status of Filipinos.
Thank you for that. Moving on, I have another concern, or I need to raise another question regarding the ASEAN Civil Society Conference or the ASEAN People's Forum. The Philippines is preparing to assume the ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, an opportunity that allows us to shape regional priorities. The Philippine government, through the DFA, has committed to promoting a people-oriented and people-centered ASEAN. Yet this also means a responsibility to bring the civil society organizations, the very people who hold our governments accountable, to the fore in the conversations. Is there any allocated budget under the DFA for civil society organizations in the Philippines that are expected to convene the ASEAN Civil Society Conference or ASEAN People's Forum in conjunction with the countries hosting of the ASEAN Summit?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, again, we have to remember also that the request for the additional funding for the chairship of the Philippines in the ASEAN, in the coming ASEAN, is earmarked very, very rigidly insofar as how we can be able to host several meetings, official meetings, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. But as far as the participation of civil society organizations, as far as the participation of the civil society organizations, again, the meetings that will be hosted by the Philippines would cover would only cover, Mr. Speaker, the military security pillars, Mr. Speaker. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, although we want to expand the participation of the civil society, include civil society organization, this is something that requires official from each of the countries of the ASEAN, because they will be tackling sensitive and classified matters, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you for that. Given the chance that the DFA's budget for the ASEAN Summit will be increased, may we respectfully urge the DFA to consider providing funding support for this initiative, as it would reflect the Philippines' commitment to engaging civil society and to advancing ASEAN's vision of the people-centered and caring community.
Yes, again, Mr. Speaker, when you talk about the ASEAN, it has to be a consensus decision. It has to be a collective decision. So insofar as the Philippines is concerned, if there are proposals, for example, from the Philippine government to expand participation, to include, among other things, civil society organization, it has to be decided by the ASEAN member state, Mr. Speaker. So the Philippines cannot unilaterally, for example, impose upon other ASEAN member states to expand or to reformat other the programs or the talks or the themes of the upcoming seminars, which basically would revolve only on the issue of security matters, which again are very, very classified and very, very sensitive information that will be discussed among the ASEAN members.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sponsor.
But we will, again, if I may add, sorry, may
Go
mga
ahead.
phone patch pa eh. But we will definitely relay the concern of the good lady to the DSWD, because I believe the DSWD will also be taking part in the preparation, because according to, it's based on the administrative order number 17, we will organize the National Organizing Council, which basically DSWD will also be playing a part in the assumption, for example, in next year's chairship of the Philippine government. So we will relay the request of the good lady to the.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Sponsor. Now I'll go to another point. This is basically about Myanmar. So Myanmar is in the midst of junta caused crisis, which overthrew the elected civilian government. The coup sparked mass protest, violent crackdowns, and the rise of armed resistance groups, including People's Defense Forces and long-standing ethnic armed organizations. My question is, as it prepares for its ASEAN's chairmanship, does the Philippines plan to engage key Myanmar stakeholders, including the NUG and civil society, in line with ASEAN's principles of inclusivity and the approach taken by the current chair, Malaysia?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I guess partly the question was partly answered as a response to the question of the previous interpellator, Mrs. Speaker. Again, once we assume the chairship of ASEAN, it has been the consensus decision among ASEAN member states that insofar as Myanmar is concerned, we will definitely push the 5-point consensus, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. So the 5-point consensus, Mr. Speaker, as detailed earlier and nominated by this representation, Mr. Speaker, is in order to foment a more inclusive way of transitioning the power from now currently being held in Myanmar to that of a more democratically representative government in probably in the future, no? Should Myanmar decides on holding the first general elections after this incident, after the takeover of the military junta in the said country, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Moving on again to my another question. This is in regards to the actions taken in Gaza. A nation committed to a rules-based order and multilateralism as the Philippines promises to be, must assert its legal and moral authority in response to mass atrocity crimes. Could the DFA detail the diplomatic and legal mechanisms the Philippines has utilized, specifically regarding the ongoing genocide in Gaza?
Well, aside from the assistance in terms of monetary assistance that we have, again, we have also, again, as a way of response to the good lady previous interpellator, which is $100,000. We also voted in favor of our UN resolution calling for the immediate ceasefire, calling for the stop of the blockade of the humanitarian assistance going inside Gaza. Condemning among other things, the ongoing atrocities and the victimization of women, of elderly, of young children, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, and this has been the consistent position that we have taken, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, since the start of this conflict in Gaza. We also took part, Mr. Speaker, we also took part in the International Court of Justice process last February this year on humanitarian operations in Gaza, Mr. Speaker. Only 42 countries took part of this mentioned ICJ process, Mr. Speaker, one of which is the country. So we are very proud that of our position with regard to the issue in Gaza, particularly the question of the Palestinian question and the two-state solution. We do not only support this verbally, but we also took action in terms of supporting any resolutions that would call for the immediate restoration of the humanitarian assistance to Gaza, as well as to actively participate in any legal processes that would promote the rights of the Palestinian people to live freely in the area, both in Gaza and perhaps in the West Bank, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. I was about to ask the question about the International Court of Justice, but given that you have already answered that, so thank you.
Advance mag-isip kasi yung DFA.
Oo nga inuunahan ako. Sige po. Salamat po. Anyway, I have no further questions because most of my questions have already been answered when Congresswoman Laila De Lima have questioned it. But I have a closing statement, if you don't mind. Let me just read this. We urge the DFA to honor our international obligations for human rights. Tatanungin tayo ng mga susunod na henerasyon kung paano tumindig ang Pilipinas sa karahasan sa Gaza. Let's choose to be on the right side of history. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, and to the DFA family for answering our questions. Our diplomacy must rise to the challenge of global crises. We urge the Department of Foreign Affairs to immediately commit to ensuring that the 2026 budget truly reflects our principles of human rights and justice, whether that's ensuring the welfare and safety of detained Filipinos abroad or intervening for our Burmese and Palestinian siblings who are suffering from mass atrocities. Thank you for that. Maraming salamat po.